Unlike what most of YouTube and social media in this hobby will tell you, not everything is sunshine and daisies in aquascaping. In today's video, I want to share with you a couple of stories from the dark side of this hobby where things did not go as planned for me. But before we get started, if you're new to the channel, welcome. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for your support. Okay, so the reason I want to talk about this topic today is because this last week has been a very rough week for me. I had multiple things hobby related that did not go right, and just everything seemed to be going wrong all at the same time. So I just wanted to share my experiences so that you can avoid my mistakes. First of all, it's been a long time coming, but I finally got fish for the forest tank behind me. I've waited quite a while to get these fish, and I finally got my hands on them. I got 20 emerald eye rasboras for this setup. They look super cool, and I'm super happy that they're in this tank. What sucks about it though, is they're super shy and spend most of their time hiding, so you can barely even see them. But the fish being shy isn't even the worst part, and it's one of the things I want to talk about. The first 2 nights that I got these guys, for some reason, they all decided to jump out of the tank. Within the first night, I had lost 6 emerald eye rasboras due to jumping, all which happened overnight while I was asleep. So I walked out the next morning to find dried up fish on my floor. Now I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking that the water perimeters didn't match and that's why they jumped. But that's not the case. The water perimeters are perfectly fine and tailored directly for the emerald eye rasboras. I've spent the last month getting it exactly perfect temperature and parameter wise for these fish. So to have 6 of them jump out just sucked. Now, if you haven't been able to tell, I'm still a bit salty about that because there's nothing I really could have done to change it. And now I'm down 6 fish from my school. Now I'm sure there's plenty of ways I could have prevented the fish from jumping, but the way I built this tank, I really didn't think they would jump out the way they did. So it just kind of sucks that I had to deal with that. So sometimes in this hobby, things just don't go your way, and the only thing you can do is keep your head up and move on. I will make a note that it's important to never get discouraged in this hobby. There's a lot of things that can get your head down, so you got to keep your head up and turn every opportunity into a learning opportunity. That way you're better prepared for the future. Honestly, if I were to pull a positive note out of this whole experience so far, it's that I've found more joy in keeping shrimp than I have with fish. So in the future, you might see more shrimp in my tanks and less fish, but I'm not entirely sure if that's the route I'm gonna go, so we'll see. Shrimp also cost significantly less money to purchase than fish do. In most cases, not all cases. And they seem to breed really well in my tap water, so maybe I'll just start doing more shrimp than I am fish. All right, enough about the sadness of my fish jumping out of the tank, even though that is a heartbreaking thing. And moving on to the second thing that did not go my way this week. So I think it was like 1 or 2 days after all the fish had jumped out of my tank that I decided to move some lights around on my tanks to see if certain ones would look better on other systems. That was not a good idea though, because I ended up crossing the wires of 2 of my twin star lights. And while I was in the middle of the switch, I plugged in the wrong light to the wrong cord. And as I had my head under the stand, I heard a sizzling sound from up above. Now in a state of panic, I pulled my head out from under the cabinet to see that my beloved twin star C line, which sat on my iwagumi, was smoking. So I ended up completely frying the circuit of the light, and now it won't turn on no matter what I do. Yet again, another stupid thing I had to deal with that was not going my way. And just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, it did. Before I get into the next story though, I do want to give a huge shout out to the sponsors of today's video, and that's the folks over at Boost Plant. When I fried my twin star sea line, I reached out to Boost Plant and they sent me the Chihiros C2 LED light as a replacement. This light is awesome, and I'm super thankful for the folks at Boost Plant and their generosity of sending this over. So if you haven't checked out Boost Plant yet, I highly recommend you do. It's where I get all my aquascaping supplies and plants, I'll have a link in the description below to their website, and it is an affiliate link, so any purchase you make through there will be directly supporting this channel at no extra cost to you. So go check them out and tell them Kevin sent you. Real quickly, I do want to talk about the light. The Chihiro C2 is arguably one of my favorite lights I've ever had. I've got it running on this 45U behind me right here. It's entirely app controlled from your cell phone, so there's no need for extra plugins, smart plugs, dimmers, etc., etc. It's just a super sleek look. All you gotta do is plug it in and connect it to the app on your phone, and you're all good to go. I'll leave a link to that light in the description below, and you can check it out for yourself. Okay, back to the sad stories, because there's even more that happened to me this week. Okay, so on the same day that I fried my Twin Star light, I was working on this 45U right here, which houses my Beta Zuko, and I took the surface skimmer off the intake because I needed to clean it. Now it's important to note that I have a very chill and low-key Beta that doesn't like to explore much. He just hangs out and does his own thing and never really gets into mischief or trouble. That was not the case on this day though. So after I took the surface skimmer off, I cleaned it and I let it sit for a little bit. And I stepped away to watch a show with my wife. Now when the show had ended, I got up from the couch and was talking about the show with my wife. We both turned and looked at the tank to see that my Beta was inside the intake tube. Somehow, at some point in the 30 minutes that I wasn't looking, he swam over to the intake and went headfirst down the intake tube and was stuck there. Keep in mind, the filter was running this entire time. So he was stuck in the intake, couldn't go anywhere, was head first, and the filter was running trying to suck him in. I think at that moment, I took off in a full sprint across the living room to go save him. Now, even though I don't say this very often, I would have to say that my Beta Zuko is probably my favorite fish in my gallery. Because he is a Beta, I was able to form a pretty strong bond with him over the last couple of years, and he'll swim up and interact with me anytime I come near the aquarium. So I unplugged the filter immediately and started working on the plug underneath the intake to get him out alive. At this point, I was being super rough because I didn't care if I broke the glass lily pipes. I just wanted to get Zuko out and keep him alive as soon as possible. So after about 30 seconds of trying really hard, I was able to get the plug out of the bottom of the filter out, and Zuko was able to swim out on his own and get to the surface for a bit. I left the filter off for the rest of the night because I didn't want him to be stressed any more than he already was. Zuko is totally fine. He's happy and healthy and swimming around as we speak, and he's eating well with no nicks or marks on him, so he's perfectly healthy and fine, which is great news. So the point of this video isn't to discourage you or say that aquascaping is bad. It's just that not everything goes as planned in this hobby, and it happens to all of us. It's important that when everything seems to be going wrong, just to keep your head up, don't get discouraged, and take every chance of things going wrong and try to turn it into an opportunity to learn. This hobby's pros far outweigh the cons, and when things do go right, it's one of the most rewarding hobbies in the entire world. Now, all these 3 stories happened to me within the last week. I've got a ton more that I won't share with you now because we're already pretty lengthy in this video. I'd love to hear if you have any stories where something did not go right for you in this hobby. Go ahead and drop it below in the comments, and I'd love to see what you've got. So I think that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're not subscribed already, please go ahead and do so. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.